So, I do believe this is in order, as the other Infinite Warfare video I recorded and uploaded is probably the most views I've ever gotten on my channel, and that's saying something. So, I did say I was gonna do a review on Infinite Warfare. It's gonna be laid out slightly different. There isn't gonna be so much editing and stuff that a lot of other people would do for reviews and just kind of edit together gameplay of everything. I'm just going to kind of be playing zombies while explaining everything and giving my thoughts and feelings, I guess, on Infinite Warfare. And I'm going to be honest, although I'm currently on my secondary account, I've pretty much 100%ed the game on my main account, although nowadays this is my main account. Keep in mind, I got this game like when it came out, when I was like 10 years old, so yeah, I was playing on my dad's account mainly there. So on my dad's account, I've completely 100%ed the game pretty much. On this account, I'm kind of only just started a little bit ago, and I've just kind of been slowly going through it as I've gotten back into Infinite Warfare. As I've just kind of gotten back into Call of Duty in general, I kind of had a bit of a break from that, kind of like I did with Apex. But anyway, this is, I guess, my review on Infinite Warfare, and why it really didn't deserve as much backlash as I think it did get. So everyone get ready for this.
Willard Wider, master of to film.
Looks like I'm throwing out the first pitch. Batter up.
So like I said, we're going to be playing through zombies. I'm not going to have gameplay of the campaign or multiplayer, mainly because one, the multiplayer, I physically can't get a game, so I'd be having to play, you know, custom like match, which I don't really want to do. Also, I should probably hold up a second. There is a few things I gotta get on with before anything, and that's a few. Here's a few things. The music and graphics, as you can see, are a lot different and a lot more realistic than most Call of Duties, and that's already probably going to annoy the fuck out of some people, but especially if I probably will, if a lot of people want to end up seeing it, but I'll probably do a campaign playthrough on, you know, of the Infinite Warfare campaign, and you will see that, especially in the campaign, the graphics are really nice. Like, Zombies doesn't really show it too much. It doesn't really show off the nice realistic graphics that amazing, but it's a great game in terms of graphics quality and yeah, graphics quality and in general just the art style I really like, and it isn't really even an art style, like I said before, it's just how realistic it is. I really like realistic games, and although I do like Black Ops and all that, one can admit that it doesn't exactly look the most, shall I say, realistic. Although it does look realistic, as every Call of Duty does, the campaign, especially in Infinite Warfare, has a realism that every other Call of Duty doesn't quite reach. Even some games like Black Ops 3 and that, they have a lot of realism, but I don't think it's as great as, you know, the regular Infinite Warfare graphics. I don't know why I said regular, considering, I don't know, whatever. Yeah. On top of the graphics, if and when I do a
This is definitely
campaign playthrough, you will realize that Infinite Warfare's campaign really just doesn't feel like voice actors, especially like celebrity voice actors, just going through the motions. It really feels, you know, really genuine. All of the parts played really well, and all of the dialogue and all of the writing in said dialogue is just a lot more, how you say, realistic than other Call of Duties. And the dialogue has more emotion, especially when compared to the earlier Call of Duties. The emotion in the sentences that are said throughout the voice actors in the campaign and such, they just don't feel all that genuine. They feel more, you know, like celebrities going through the motion more than, you know, characters going through, you know, a story, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense for some people, especially people that, you know, do like me care about, you know, graphics and voice actors not sounding like they just want to be done and get paid. Like, the voice actors in the campaign really do feel like they're trying to play the part. They're serious when they need to be serious. They sound like they're actually sad when their character's supposed to be sad. That's another thing I really like. I really like the message that Infinite Warfare, at least the campaign, obviously Zombies, if you've seen the story, and I'll kind of go over the story briefly of Zombies. But with Zombies, the story isn't exactly realistic, to say the least. But the campaign, it's got a really nice, realistic, and although realistic, very simple in a way, story. And it's also it's very mature the way they, you know, try and explain it, if that also makes sense. They do it, sorry, I'm fucking forgetting what I'm trying to say here. The story, I'll just go over quickly, like, very quickly. It's pretty much, you're playing as this character, who is called Nick Reyes. I might be mispronouncing the last name, but his first name's Nick, and the characters say his first name quite a few times, considering that the whole game's, you know, during a war, and like all of the characters are part of an army, and that's kind of where the campaign is based off of. Although let's be real for a second, like, what Call of Duty game isn't based off some war of one kind or another? I'm pretty sure pretty much every Call of Duty campaign has something about the army or war involved in the story. I don't know personally any Call of Duty that doesn't follow this format with the campaign. With Zombies, of course not. Although there were a few exceptions that still, in Zombies, still kind of go with the war-like aspects, specifically World at War, where everything in that game was revolved around World War One. Sorry, World War One, World War Two, including the zombies. You know, the main characters in the Zombies game mode in World War are Nazis. So, like, yeah, that game was 100% just about war. But the way they handle the story in Infinite Warfare, it really does feel like all of the characters are being, you know, they're being sympathetic towards each other, and they have moments of silences for characters that die that feel justified and feel deserved to the characters that died. And a lot of the emotion in the characters feels warranted. Like when you, the player, Nick Reyes, gets really annoyed that one of the characters, Omar, doesn't listen to Nick and he ends up getting killed. Nick's very justified in thinking or being very frustrated, especially because how he sees leadership and the role of a leadership or person, you know, in charge is instead of putting the mission first, he puts he puts his soldiers first. He doesn't necessarily put the mission first. So he does everything in his power to make sure everyone gets home, even if the mission isn't successful. This leads into another thing I like about Infinite Warfare. There's going to be a lot of this, so just get ready for this. But unlike the most Call of Duty games, where you're playing just like the soldier, the lower down in charge, and you're being told what to do like the entirety of the campaign. And in most Call of Duties especially, it gets really annoying just getting told what to do, and you feel like you're just in like the lowest rank in most Call of Duty games, if that makes sense. You feel like you're not most of the time in Call of Duty campaigns, you barely even feel like you're in control really of your character that much, especially because in a lot of Call of Duty games, rather than like, you know, it being more free roam mixed with a story adventure kind of similar game, pretty much the entire game the characters are just telling you what to do, and you need to do pretty much exactly what the characters are telling you what to do. And if you do anything besides what the other characters are telling you to do, you're gonna fail. So I like that Infinite Warfare has you becoming, you know, in charge, pretty much completely in charge of the entire army, pretty much. And although you don't get to do everything an army general would do, you know, just deciding all of the decisions of the army, that would be really hard to implement. So
looks like we're ready for a night game.
Obviously I'm not going to be harsh on that aspect. Like, no Call of Duty games managed to do something a bit close to that, so I'm not gonna pick at that, especially because this video here is explaining why this game is good and not why it's bad. So, you know, I won't be saying a whole lot of bad things about this game. There is bad things, don't get me wrong. I think everyone can agree that, like, even people, the small amount of people that do like this game, like me, they can definitely agree that there's a shit ton of bad things with this game, a shit ton of things that this game definitely does wrong, and I will get to most of those. So I guess I'll do a brief sum up of the campaign. So you play as Nick Reyes, and the first level, actually, you don't play as Nick Reyes, now that I think about it. You play as this UNSA. I don't know why they changed it from USA to UNSA, but, you know, that's what the main army is called now, the UNSA. And pretty much you're the lead soldier of this, it's kind of like a recon mission a little bit, on you trying to get this weapon or this mega weapon that the other half of humanity, the SDF, has control of, and the UNSA want to take it out of the fight and even capture it for themselves if possible. So you play as the lead soldier in this mission. There's like 2 or 3 other soldiers that go with you on this mission, and by the end of the mission you pretty much end up finding the weapon, end up almost getting away, but as you're getting away, you all fall unconscious while going out of an airlock. And yeah, a few hours after that, some SDF, high-ranking SDF officials find you, have a little conversation that gives a lot of context, quite a bit of context actually, into the game's backstory and also just general story in general, which is pretty important information, most of it. before killing the 3 characters. After that little mini cutscene, the next cutscene shows you, Nick Reyes. Currently you're still only a lieutenant, you're not actually in charge of much. You're kind of like mid-rank rather than like high ranks. You're still kind of climbing up the ladder, I guess you'd say. Rather than, you know, you being in charge of everything. And you kind of have a little argument with like the highest ranking officer on Earth. What's his name? Really helpful to forget his name. But you have a little argument about the mission not being a 4-person job and it needing an entire team. And although the captain does somewhat agree, he goes on about saying something like there wasn't enough, I don't know, people that were close enough, I guess, is the easiest way to say it. That not enough people were close enough to where the mission was going to take place for them to help with said mission. For whatever reason, I don't know. Obviously, since I'm not part of the army, I don't know if that's how that should be working, but
I hope I can find some
that doesn't really sound like how it works. But anyway, I guess that's a little bad thing. And pretty much the second stage is the SDF invades Earth, and they shoot a giant craft that you're going down to, like, I don't know, the city square of whatever city the HQ's in. It doesn't really make clear where the HQ is. You visit the HQ kind of city quite a few times during the campaign, but it's never really made clear where on Earth that is. But it's some populated city. Anyway, the SDF invades. You have to get away from them, recapture Earth, and chase SDF into outer space. Yes, this game is outer space in it, which is crazy. So you chase them into space, make sure that they get their asses out of there and, you know, stop invading Earth. And they run away, and pretty much they end up destroying quite a lot of Earth and quite a lot of the main, not only hub world, but the main spaceship kind of arsenal thing in the UNSA's position, called the Retribution. And the main captain dies during a crash with the SDFs. I think the main carrier is called the Olympus. I haven't played the campaign in a long time, so if it isn't called the Olympus, then my mistake. Although I'm like 99.9% sure. Anyway, you end up becoming the captain because there's no higher ranking officer, and yeah, pretty much the whole rest of the campaign from then onwards is just you kind of, you know, getting rid of the SDF. There's a lot of really heartfelt moments in there that I really like. Specifically, one of the moments where it looks like the player, or Captain Reyes, is going to die. He's left on, I believe, Saturn's moon Titan. He's just kind of left in space with a robot assistant that you meet relatively early in the campaign, and he's honestly probably one of the best characters in the entire game. And although every character has more emotion than most characters in Call of Duty campaigns ever, somehow the robot has more emotion even then than some of the characters in the Infinite Warfare campaign, which is kind of ironic. I really like that, how one of the most, you know, emotional characters in the entire campaign is a robot. And what makes it even better is that it's probably the most emotion-filled campaign, other than obviously Bloodlust. That's really the only emotion that's in most of the Call of Duty campaigns, up until at least up until Infinite Warfare's release. After Infinite Warfare's release, a lot of the Call of Duties aren't so much just about killing something or someone, or a team of somethings or someone's. But yeah, there's a lot of emotion in the single scene where you're left on Titan. There's a nice scene where Reyes calls Ethan his brother. It's probably one of the most emotional scenes in the entire game. Until the final scene, spoiler, where Captain Reyes, you as the player, actually end up dying. And after that, the true final scene, you see Reyes's, I guess that's how you say that? I don't know. I might be butchering half of the words I'm saying, but I don't even know. You see Nick's closest friend, Salter, I forgot her first name. Salter, I'm just gonna call her Salter. I'm pretty sure her first name said only once in the actual campaign. Unlike Nick, whose first name is said about 50 times, although most are in just rapid succession of each other, and most of which are said by Salter. But the final scene is her next to a board on the wall that it's kind of like a piece of the Fallen board, and she, you know, salutes a specific name on the board it zooms in, and it's Nick's name. And you also see close to Nick's name is a bunch of other characters' names, like Omar and that, who died sometime in the campaign, and who were quite a big help during said campaign. I'm probably saying this in just the most kind of nonchalant way possible. It's a very emotional campaign, and mixed with the graphics and shit as well. Honestly, Infinite Warfare's campaign is definitely the main attraction of Infinite Warfare, and that might sound stupid considering that, like, people play the campaign maybe twice or 3 times and then only ever play zombie and multiplayer afterwards. So, you know, saying that the campaign is the main attraction doesn't sound like a good thing, but it's actually fine in my opinion, because everything else in this game is pretty solid except the multiplayer, which is why I'm glad it's the multiplayer that nobody plays anymore rather than zombies. Because the zombies is really fun and it's really cool. So yeah, that's probably the most non-detailed explanation of the first and second chapter of the campaign, and then the most brief explanation of the ending. So I'm probably not really making it sound as great as it should be, but it's just to put it in perspective, I think it's better than like the Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 3 campaigns, both of which I'm pretty sure the majority of the community of Call of Duty really enjoy, except Black Ops 3 does have quite a few plot holes that I am aware of. I have played Black Ops 3. So I am aware that Black Ops 3 has plot holes, but the campaign is still very heavily liked upon in the community, especially considering the game itself is a million times more popular than Infinite Warfare. Which honestly I'm fine with. I wish Infinite Warfare was more popular than pretty much any Call of Duty game, but I can see why not, even though this game is probably one of my favorite Call of Duties. It's definitely not my favorite either. This video is just trying to, you know, make people open their eyes and see that this game, although it's really easy to meme, it's actually a pretty good game, and, you know, I just feel like it's really unjustified that this game did so bad, in my opinion. It just didn't really deserve it, but hey, it is what it is, really, so just gotta yeah, just kind of got to deal with it, I guess.
Pray and spring.
So yeah, that's the campaign. In the most nonchalant, most like under-detailed explanation ever. So yeah, I guess we'll talk about a few other things before we get into the main zombies story. One, a whole lot of people really don't like the entire idea of Infinite Warfare's campaign being a whole, being a whole, like, space and robot themed. It's very heavily known as a kind of, like, robotic and space themed game. Not a whole lot of people see it as anything more than that. Which, although I can agree with, like, over 50% of the characters that you fight, and I'd say around 30% of the characters you have any sort of interactions with, that being from just killing them or actually talking to them, at least 40% of those characters aren't human. So, although I do agree with that to an extent, I really still feel like I really honestly like Infinite Warfare for trying something new and being, one of, if not the only, Call of Duty game that has, a robotic and space themed campaign. I'm really glad that it exists, especially since pretty much every other Call of Duty campaign really only has kind of just on the ground war. Like, it's cool. I like regular World War I, World War II styled campaigns, but like, I think we've seen enough of that, honestly. I'm glad that Infinite Warfare tried something new, and it's one of the only campaigns in Call of Duty history that isn't just like a World War I or World War II kind of inspired campaign in some way, shape, or form. It's very heavily,
anybody looking to fill their toy collection?
Very heavily anti,
Anybody?
World War I or World War II. It definitely has those aspects, don't get me wrong, but literally every Call of Duty, including the small amount of Call of Duties that aren't World War I or World War II based, are about war. So, it's not really anything to moan about. I don't know why people are so annoyed with it, but yeah. Another thing, a lot of people find that the Infinite Warfare guns, especially in zombies, aren't as good as other games, specifically Black Ops 2. In Black Ops 2, a lot of people just feel like especially the wonder weapons, but also the pack-a-punched versions of weapons, just aren't that great compared to Black Ops 2, Black Ops 3, Black Ops 4 kind of zombie weapons. Specifically the single pack-a-punch weapons, they really don't add too much to the regular weapon, other than a very, very minuscule amount of damage, is what a lot of people have come across. And I really don't like to say this because, honestly, as somebody that really only plays zombies for high rounds, like, yes, I have completed the Easter egg on every map in multiple games, although I haven't got every map in Infinite Warfare yet, although I am planning to. I am, as somebody that goes for high rounds more than anything, and, that's really the main reason why I play zombies, is for high rounds, and also because it's either that or multiplayer. And honestly, I just don't find multiplayer as fun as zombies. Some people are probably really gonna hate me just for that statement, let alone the fact that I think Infinite Warfare's you know, good. A lot of people are probably already wanting to kill me for that, but I do believe Infinite Warfare is a great game, and once again, that's what this whole episode's about. So I just hope I've made that clear, and you know, other people can at least try and agree with me. Other than that though, what's next to talk about? Well, the zombie story, but of course. So the zombie story, although I haven't got all of the maps, I do know the entire story of Infinite Warfare Zombies, which might seem weird, but not only have I played Infinite Warfare at other people's houses, specifically my friends and cousins' houses, where they do have all of the maps, because I guess they just really wanted all the maps. I do still want all the maps, but I don't know. I'm just kind of not going to get them right now. If you guys want to see me play the other maps, then I'll definitely try and put it at the top of my priority list. But for now, it's not really that high up there. Mainly for a number of things, but I won't get too into that. So instead, let's get into the story of Call of Duty Infinite Warfare Zombies. We follow 4 main characters, two of which I've completely forgot their names because I'm just that amazing. But Point Dexter is arguably my favourite one. He, at least in the first map, is designed off of like kind of 80s nerd, which I really like the idea of. One thing I like the idea of in Infinite Warfare Zombies is that all of the maps are kind of they're kind of maps based off of times in human history, or the last map, for instance, is kind of a take on the future of human history in a way, and all of the characters except in the last map are kind of like just stereotype kind of takes on the stereotypes of that movie's or that time's, you know, main what would we call it? I'm trying to think of the idea, so I paused it. I've completely forgotten. But pretty much, you know, it's stereotypes of the time. So the first map, Zombies in Spaceland, honestly, this is probably where most of the story actually is from. So the 4 characters, Andre, Point Dexter, there's a woman and another character, I don't remember their names, I'm just that stupid. But yeah, them 4, they're all actors, and they've all been kind of invited to play a role in Willard Wyler's kind of last movie. Willard Wyler, I'm pretty sure, is actually based off of an actual director. Don't quote me for that, but I'm pretty sure he's based off an actual actor. Well, not actor, director. Yeah. He's based off an actual director, and he makes movies in both real life and obviously Call of Duty. And he's about to retire, but he wants to make one more crazy horror movie to best all the other horror movies that he's created. And yeah, he's invited the 4 characters to be a part of it. And he meets the characters, he kind of very briefly tells them what they're going to be a part of, and then he leads them into a cinema room to, presumably, as the 4 characters know at that point of time, is kind of they're kind of re-watching one of his best movies and most well-done movies to kind of get an idea
I hope your first
as what, what they're going to be filming and what they're going to be, being a part of. And Willard leaves the room. One of the characters has a pot of popcorn, the character that I'm currently playing as right this second. He's, I believe, it's not Andre. Andre is a guy that ends up in the first map wearing a DJ outfit, which is honestly kind of cool. But yeah, Poindexter's geeking the fuck out because he knows pretty much everything about Willard Wyler, except the one secret which, unfortunately for him, he is going to learn in just a few mere moments. So Willard leaves the room, goes into the room where you'd play the movie through the movie tape, and it looks on the ground. You can kind of see on the ground there's like a ritualistic circle on the ground, and that's what he's going to use to set the main plot in motion for Infinite Warfare Zombies. So he grabs out a knife. It's become a really iconic knife, especially because you can end up playing as Willard Wyler. Once you've done all the Easter eggs, you can actually end up playing as Willard Wyler, and that's like an extra starter weapon, or the starter weapon, that you get while playing as Willard Wyler. All the other general basic characters, including the guest stars, which I'll get into soon, have, we'll start off with just the regular Kendall, or in the final map, the OSA. The Kendall's just the same as any basic Call of Duty starter pistol. It's, yeah, not too great, especially in Zombies. In the campaign, don't get me wrong, in the campaign it's actually surprisingly pretty damn good, as well as in multiplayer. But in Zombies, the Kendall's arguably worse than every other starter pistol ever, so it's not that great, as I'm sure you could imagine, since there are some starter pistols that are absolutely terrible in Call of Duty history. But yeah, the Kendall's even worse. But unlike that, Willard Wyler starts off with the iconic knife, which is why I call it iconic, because it's the thing he uses, and I'll explain what he does with it, and it's also his starter weapon in, all of the Call of Duty maps in Infinite Warfare. So he grabs out his knife, he cuts into his hand, and kind of using his own blood, completes the ritual that he is trying to complete. The people or characters in the story needed to be in the theatre room, and him completing the ritual by using his blood pretty much just makes the other characters go into the film that they were meant to be watching. As kind of like what they're going to do. The first film being Zombies in Spaceland, which is this film here. I don't think some of the films in this game, I'm pretty sure, are actual films, but Zombies in Spaceland, I'm pretty sure, is not an actual theme, or it's not theme, movie. It's not an actual movie, I'm pretty sure, although I'm pretty sure some like Raven the Redwoods and Attack of the Radioactive thing, I'm pretty sure were actual movies, if not their names just being retitled and there just being some similarities. Yeah, the real life equivalents of the movies probably aren't that close to the real life versions at all, which would make sense considering, why would they do that? But yeah, that makes sense. So they get thrown into the first movie. They're completely just like, what the fuck, for the first cutscene once they get into Zombies in Spaceland, and they notice they've been placed into outfits, and Poindexter suggests that they might be, although he's still fucking confused as fuck and really doesn't want to be in the film anymore, as any normal person would, because by being in the film they now realize Willard means they will literally be in the film. But yeah, Poindexter understands Willard on a basis that nobody else does. He's done his research, he's been a fan of Willard's movies for a long time, although it's safe to assume he isn't anymore. But he knows how Willard's movies go down, he knows how they work fundamentally, and he kind of offers the characters exposition for Willard so that Willard doesn't have to do it on, you know, if they're in the outfits, it's clearly the outfits that they're either A, auditioning for, or B, these will be the outfits and they are recording the movie now. Specifically because I'm pretty sure Zombies in Spaceland in real life and in canon isn't a movie that was released, so that would mean that Zombies in Spaceland, I don't know, is maybe part of a movie, you know, that, or part of, or the movie that is going to be released, I guess. Which I don't understand really, honestly. It's an okay plot, I just don't really understand it that much on a fundamental level. Although I am probably one of the dumbest people in the entire universe. So, that probably also helps. But, either way, they're all in the film, and they all, after they've kind of gathered their composure again, they start acting like their parts. So, Andre the DJ starts acting like a stereotypical 80s DJ. Poindexter starts spinning a bunch of nerdy facts for, you know, the point that he is playing the nerds. The girl's playing the stereotypical 80s kind of teenage girl, so she just starts speaking like it, I guess. She doesn't really do anything much then sound like a teenage girl in the 80s, but, you know, you kind of get the impression that that's what she's trying to do either way, so I guess she accomplishes what she was trying to do. Either way, and then obviously the character I'm playing now, who again I've forgotten his name, and I'm not going to bother remembering because he's probably the least important character story-wise, out of the main four, of course. But yeah, he's playing the jock, so I don't know, I guess for some reason he kind of just starts kind of being an sorry, I'm just going to clear these guys out. He starts being kind of an antagonist towards Poindexter a little bit. You can tell it's as a joke with the way he's saying it. He's not truly being an asshole for the sake of being an asshole to Poindexter, but he's playing the part. The jock's always a bit of a dick to the nerds throughout the entirety of history, I'm pretty sure. The smarter people have always just been, you know, slightly bullied by, you know, those that are physically stronger than them, which I personally can relate to. I'm not the smartest person, in fact I'm probably nowhere near the smartest person that I know, but in terms of video games at least, I'm knowledgeable. I hope that counts for something. But yeah, so they go through the first I guess film, Zombies in Spaceland. The main Easter egg is an alien boss fight. You know, being Zombies in Spaceland, gotta have an alien fight. A lot of characters make jokes throughout them, kind of not in character jokes, but just, you know, themselves jokes. Especially the girl saying that she's gonna freak if she sees an alien, which that's the only line that one of the four characters say, or one of the jokes that the four characters say that is slightly in character, as she says it in a very like sassy way, and she says like about 5 times in the sentence, but she pretty much just says I'm gonna freak if there's aliens in the movie, which assumingly she is saying that literally, it just sounds very in character, unlike everyone else's attempts at a joke, I want to say. Anyway, they end up fighting the alien, being the alien, and going to the next movie, and that kind of goes through multiple times with extra story and stuff. And it's honestly a decent story. Obviously, I'm not going to cover all of it. Like I said, if you want me to go through like all of the maps individually, and you want me to buy all the maps and get all the maps and, you know, play them all on video, then I will do that. Seeing as the starting room challenge also got more views than any other video on my channel, you know, if people want to see it, I'll do the starting room challenge in other IW maps. As you probably would have seen in Zombies in Spaceland, and you probably would have seen earlier in this video, once you get to round or scene 10 or higher, that's when a new enemy, the Brute, can start spawning, and he's just a weaker version and not as complicated version as the boss of this map. Although he does work slightly different, I guess, a little bit, but he's just a giant kind of alien thing. You shoot his heads, he takes his head off, but like, it turns out he's just a really buff zombie, hence the final name Brute, and why everyone, story-wise as well, refers to him as Brute. But yeah, so he's a little bit of a tricky boy, but as you will have seen in the, you know, starting room challenge video, that's really the only reason why you physically can't get to above wave 10 in Zombies in Spaceland and IW. Like, you physically can't get past like wave 12 because, or to wave 12, because on wave 10 or 11 you're guaranteed to get a Brute to spawn. You can't get any higher than round 11 without the Brute spawning, and with how tanky the Brute is, especially with all of the zombies being as strong as they are at round 10, it's just really hard to do it with a non-pack-a-punch, Hailstorm and M1, as you would have seen if you watched my video, which I'm assuming everyone subscribed to the channel has, because, I mean, have you seen the views on that video? But yeah, so they go through the movies. I can kind of, I'll probably do, you know what, I'll probably do a second part of this, but to wrap it up, I'll just go over more game mechanics, things I really like. One of which being the movement in this game. I think there have been quite a few YouTubers actually to bring this up, but in IW the movement is so smooth somehow compared to other games, especially compared to other games that have advanced movement, like for instance the wall climbing and the double jumps. I mean, it's kind of like a double jump, it's more like a booster than a double jump. But even though in Zombies you don't get any of that, you just have walking, running and sliding and jumping, the movement feels so much smoother, and because of that you feel a whole lot more, you know, in control of your character. You don't just kind of, you know, I think the best example is in like World at War and Black Ops 1. The characters just, in terms of movement, just felt really stiff. They didn't really feel at all, you know, they didn't feel like they were really fast. They didn't feel like they could really do much. So the game felt about as much, you know, stiff as, or at least to me, the game felt about as stiff as the movement. There's a few things, especially in games with like classes and stuff specifically, but I'm quite like a movement-based character. If you've seen my Apex videos, which I know is a weird callback considering we're talking about Call of Duty here, but in Apex I only really ever play movement characters that specifically have really easy to use or really, you know, really easy to use or really smooth or really fast characters. And if I usually don't play any other characters besides those 2 types or 3 types. Normally I don't play any other characters than that. But because of IW's movement being so smooth and nice, it makes me want to play the game even more because of that. Because of the way I, you know, play games so much, you know, involving movement. Yeah, so I think that's about it. The story is amazing, the dialogue feels natural, the emotion feels there, just everything feels, you know, it feels like an actual good game, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so sad about it. I'll probably do another video explaining more of, you know, more of the lore a little bit more probably, and also the small things that I do or do not like about this game. But I'll save that for another episode somewhere down the track. I'll save that somewhere else. But yeah, I think for now that's gonna do it. So if you guys enjoyed and you want to hear my verdict for, if we're going out of 10 for Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, I'm gonna have to say it's around about an 8 out of 10. And I know that's probably gonna piss some people off, but I really like Infinite Warfare, and it's really a shame that it did so terrible in, you know, in terms of, like, you know, the franchise and, yeah, all of that, pretty much everything. It wasn't popular, it didn't make a whole lot of money, and all in all, it just really didn't feel, you know, like it deserved the backlash that it got. Like, a lot of people wanted to hate on this game, and they did end up hating on this game. A lot of people, of which didn't even end up really playing through the entire game. They maybe played through a bit of the campaign and the first level of zombies. Or maybe they didn't even do that. Maybe they just played multiplayer, which is definitely what I'm going to be talking about in the next video. But yeah, if you guys did enjoy, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Comment down below if you want to see more Infinite Warfare, or if you want to see other things, like maybe more of the Garden Warfare 2 series, which, yes, I will be bringing back soon. Don't you worry. I know it's been a few weeks. There will be another video coming out soon. But yeah, if you want to see something more like that, or more IW, comment down below. My Discord's also near my YouTube name, so you should be able to just type in the username on Discord, so you can friend me, DM me on Discord, and tell me there if you don't want to comment, which a lot of people tend to do, which is why my videos don't really have any comments, I'd like to think, as a lot of people seem to have something to say about my videos, mostly good things. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll